Okay, any other question on levy? All right, so we'll see that in December for our votes. Next item is the Aramark contract.
This is new business. I wanted to present it to the board similar like I did with the CM agreement. We could vote on it in December. Aramark's contract set to expire June 30th, 2015. The board and I have discussed this on previous occasions, as well as with the Facilities Committee and the Facilities Advisory Council. It makes some sense to do a contract extension with Aramark for the next couple of years as we have to embark on these capital improvements and life safety repairs. I've been updating the board accordingly in the Friday updates on the status of these negotiations. I think we originally did bid this out. We have done some extensions. There's been some previous language in previous contracts that allowed us to extend this out. I would think after this extension, we should probably, in the final agreement that we do at Aramark, whatever terms the board determines of the length of the extension, I would think that we don't put any language in there that says we can extend out further. And we leave that up to the new board, or at least put an RFP up when this most recent extension expires. As you can see on the next page, there's some financial breakdown. First of all, let's start with the general terms. The board, if we do a 5-year agreement, which I've orchestrated with representatives from Aramark, we would receive a capital investment grant for the district to use of $165,000. If for some reason the district broke the agreement, that would be prorated for a dollar amount based on over the 5 years. So if we cut the agreement short after 3 years, if we encompass some problems, they would prorate that and expect some payment back on that. We also, I had originally asked for some freezes in the new extension. Their agreements with their SEIU union is based on cost of living every year, and those already have been predetermined. So they were unable to offer some freezes, but one thing they came back with as a concession was doing a one-time $20,000 fee reduction off the first year, and the compounding effect on that, which Tim will show you in the next page, roughly saves us about $104,000 over a 5-year extension. So just between the first two bullets, that saves the district, or gets the district an additional $269,000 roughly. The prepayment options have already been offered. In our terms of negotiations, their last offer was at $150. I got the capital investment up to $165. They asked if we could make an annual payment the first year, which would still save us 2% more, so that's an additional $24,000. Contract language updates, we haven't got into the actual contract language. We wanted to negotiate the key terms. Obviously, we want to have some protection in the event that Joel would leave or get promoted within Aramark, that the district would have a say in picking the new facilities manager. The CPI increase had to stay for them because of their SEIU agreement. Our current agreement has a CPI cap of 5%. We renegotiated that down to 3%, so that if the CPI ever went over 3%, we would be capped at only increasing their contract rate at 3%. A big one for the district is the final bullet, which would change the economic indicator to align with what we're doing with our levy. So currently, we're paying Aramark a CPI increase, and it's not aligning with the CPI increase that we're seeing in our levy. We're about a year behind. So what this has done is our largest expenditure as a district is obviously personnel. Our second largest expenditure is our Aramark contract, and what this has done now is our two largest expenditures are directly aligned to the rate of our levy increases. So as our revenues increase and our levy increases, so do our expenditures. So that was a big win for us to get that negotiated.
Well, the timing's changed, but you're still, the cap will be 3%, where we haven't had anything close to 3% in the last
Correct.
several years.
But what happens now is I'll give you an example. I believe it was in 2000, 2 years ago, the CPI increase was 3%. So we paid them a 3% increase,
And we
but
got-
our levy only went up by like 1.5%.
Right.
Now, we got the 3% the year after, but we were already, so we were paying more than what our levy, so we've tied our expenditures to the same CPI rate that we use for our levy purposes. The next page, I had Tim break down a summary. The first column, it says existing contract terms. So we just use, because of roughly the 1.5, 1.75, the CPIs we've seen over the last few years, we use, let's assume that CPI stays at 1.5 for the next 5 years. Under their current rate is 1,188,300. So if we just had a CPI every year of 1.5%, we'd be paying Aramark over the next 5-year extension roughly $6.2 million. Under the new terms, as you see with that 20,000 reduction in the first year, and then the 1.168, and then if we use that same 1.5 indicator escalator, it comes out to be about 6.1 million. So we save roughly 100,000 there. If you add that to the 165,000 that they're going to give us in capital investment, and in the first year, even though we're making a lump sum payment, which Tim and I believe our working cash fund can afford, we get an additional $23,000 of savings. So by doing this 5-year agreement, roughly, we save $293,000 over the next 5 years, and we've been pretty satisfied with their services. We'll have roughly 5 years of construction, even though our largest project is occurring this summer. We'll still have the main gym floor, main gym bleachers, and some roof sections for the next year, and then we'll have roof sections for the rest of those years. So it would help to have some familiarity with Joel and his staff and the Aramark staff. There's some additional savings if we do those payments. So Tim just laid out in those 2 quarters, if we did a quarterly payment, a semi-annual, or annual payment, how much we can pick up additionally. I don't know if our budgets will, and our working cash funds will allow it throughout the length of the contract, but if we did able to make an annual payment every year, we could save an additional $122,000. The good thing is, we'd like to honor we want to do that first annual payment in the 2016 fiscal year, but after that, we have the flexibility that if 1 year we want to pay by quarterly, 1 year we want to pay semi-annually, we have that flexibility built in. So I know this is the first time the board's seeing this and we're discussing this. I really want to direct your attention to that total of $293. I know a 5-year extension seems like a lot, but I think we can address that by putting in the terms of the contract that there's no evergreen clause or extension clause. And you've heard a lot tonight from the school administration and from myself about making a commitment to that 1-to-1. That capital investment alone of the $165,000 would just about take care of purchasing every freshman next year a Chromebook, and would put us on pace to beginning to move forward with our 1-to-1 and our commitment to technology in the district. So I'd ask you to really take some time to consider this. The board can vote on this in December. If you want to think about this some more, discuss some items tonight or wait till December, but it took me about 1.5 months to 2 months with them, but I think we've got a pretty fair offer here. Now, obviously, the capital investment was nowhere near 165, as I shared with the board, but that had increased. But on their side, they're going to want years of service, so you have to understand kind of where that came from. And the same with the $20,000 reduction. Should we go with a shorter term extension, I'm not sure if we'd be getting those same terms.
So any questions for Kevin? Kevin, great job on getting his contract negotiated.
I got a question. Kevin, this difference in cash flow, can you present value this? Because I haven't looked at this thoroughly, but it seems to me this number is in different years. It should all be converted to 2016, so we know what the net savings is.
Tim, can we do that?
I mean, you'll have to make an assumption, but
Yeah, we can work on that.
That would be helpful. I think besides the one comment I made, I'm looking at this, the Congressional Budget Office saying that they expect inflation to reach 2% by 2016. 17, I think, and stay there, so comparing it to the current, I think a more fair comparison is to put around 2% increase instead of 1.5%. I think there's probably a little more savings in what you've negotiated here than what you're taking a pretty conservative estimate
Yeah.
with the 1.5.
Okay, so Tim, we gotta get present value.
What interest rate are they gonna use, John?
I don't know, Gary, I thought
What
maybe
is
you.
the
Over a 5-year time frame, you're
Yeah, what
talking
would you
about
do?
under 2%. It's
Yeah.
not gonna have a material impact on your PV.
Well, it's nice.
You can only get better.
What are we,
So-
what are we earning at these days, 0.25%, or, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's something less than 1%.
okay, so we're getting less than 1, that's why the 2% is a good deal, that's why they're offering it, our time value of money is nice.
And if you look right now, we already got $800,000 of O&M property tax receipts coming in August, and when would we have to make this payment?
We'd have to make this payment in July.
So you're talking
We-
about all right, and we get 800,000 OEM, because roughly we're at 1.8 is the levy you're putting out there,
Mhm.
1.9
Yes.
rounded.
Yeah,
So you get 800,000 by August, mid-August, right, or end of August?
yeah. And it may be that in July, we have to loan money from working cash into
You might,
operations.
But
for
the
a short
saving,
period of time.
but the
That's a
savings
good deal.
2% over 1 month versus,
Yeah.
Right.
and you annualize that effective rate, it's a lot better than the 1% you're earning on that
you
one.
might want to ask them that, if we could have, like, pay them a lump sum on September 1st or something. Because
I think,
if they'd be willing to extend it just a little.
I don't think that would be a problem.
Because, that's when we get our
Agreed.
revenues in.
All right, so let me ask you this, given the effective present value not being, and I do agree with Tim, it's 2%, let's figure 2%, would even make a bigger
Yeah.
discount. Should
No,
we vote on this tonight, or what do you wanna do? I don't,
I'm
you know what I
willing to
mean?
vote on it.
What?
I'm willing to vote on
I
it.
am too.
All right,
don't
so
know what
can I
else.
get a motion on
I'll
this?
do it. Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves the general terms, concepts of a 5-year contract extension with Aramark for custodial and maintenance services from July 1, 2015 through June 30, 2020, as presented in the November 11, 2014 Board Agenda Packet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim Walsh.
Good. Tim, with now general sense of knowing this, can you affect the levy? Because this is the biggest thing coming through your O&M budget is now.
Yes, oh, yeah.
Can you affect the levy to take this 20,000 that were savings in this year and push it, lower the levy and push it into the education fund and change the levies? Or did you do that, or can you?
I didn't do it in what you received in the board packet, but we can do that, but
Kind of force a
We're-
discipline
we're
in the
moving-
O&M fund and make sure these savings do get up to the education fund?
yes,
That's a good idea.
Okay, so Tim, you're gonna follow up on that.
yes.
All right, given that, Marion?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Goodchick?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska? Yes. Mr. Cindy?
Yes. I just wanna say something right now. I've been on boards, I was there with this Aramark contract came through right now. A lot of work on this, and great work done on this, to make it better for us. You guys did a real great job on this, so, thanks a lot. All right, next item is the approve the.
Wait a second.
Mm.
I want to add something. I congratulate Tim initially when he really thoroughly looked at the contract.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations all around.